ನಮಸ್ತೆ ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿ. ಐ ಆಮ್ ಶಿವಪ್ರಕಾಶ್. ಹೇಗಿದ್ದೀರಾ?
ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಶಿವಪ್ರಕಾಶ್, ನೀವ್ ಹೇಗಿದ್ದೀರಾ?
ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದ್ವಿ. ಏನಪ್ಪಾ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈಗ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಟ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್.
ಓ
ಸರಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ವೆದರ್ ಅದೇ ಸೆಕೆ ಇದು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಎಲ್ಲ ನೆಗಡಿ, ವೈರಸ್ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದೆ. ಕೆಮ್ಮು, ನೆಗಡಿ.
Not sure whether it happened.
Again, I am going back to America in November.
America or Canada?
ಎಲ್ಲ ಅಮೆರಿಕಾದಲ್ಲಿ, US ನಲ್ಲಿ.
Oh yes sir.
ಕ್ಯಾಲಿಫೋರ್ನಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ. 6 months ಇಲ್ಲಿ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ 6 months ಅಲ್ಲಾಗಿದೆ. ಬಟ್ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲರ್ ಆಗಿ ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಬಟ್ ಇಂಟರಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಇದು ಆಗ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ.
Okay. No problem. No. Okay, shall we start class?
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukaswarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. Dear devotees, we were discussing the cause of samsara in Drik Drishya Viveka. Now, what is the cause of samsara? If you ask in a one line or in a one sentence, we came to know that that is only ignorance. Ignorance is the cause of our suffering. Ignorance is the cause of our samsara. So your samsara means what? It is nothing but the cycle of birth and death. Or we say we can experience of all the dualities, suffering, etc. Now generally we keep commenting. So we have heard that and the two powers of Maya, one is Vikshepa Shakti and Avarana Shakti, the power of projection and the power of concealment. So when you are all these things, one is knowing technically or one is knowing philosophically. So what can we deduce the values from that? How can we put into practice? Or what can we learn life lessons from these ideas, these great truths? So one has to cogitate from this angle also. So in the last 2-3 verses, we saw how the Avarana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti operates. And for a common person, these both powers will be operating. And for Jivan Mukta, the person who is liberated, but is living in this body, empirical body, for him, Vikshepa Shakti works, that is power of projection, but Avarana Shakti will be destroyed. Avarana Shakti will be destroyed means what? There is no confusion for him between the self and the non-self. Since there is no ignorance about the true nature of the self and ignorance about this empirical universe, what it is and what it is not, he is not getting suffering. He may be struggling. He may be have to face difficulties like us, but he is not suffering. We all want to get away from suffering. We don't want suffering. But we get confused that the suffering preludes or suffering involves struggling. Or we equate the suffering and struggling, that's where we get into problem. I think in last Vijayavani article, in the last Saturday, my article is on this. The whole essence is what? Struggles are inevitable, but suffering is a choice. This is what we have to understand. From our birth to death, everyone has to struggle. Physically, mentally, intellectually, morally, spiritually, or even in the mundane affairs. Struggles are inevitable. We can't avoid to larger extent. But how do we react? Are we enjoying the struggle and we are coming up? Are we suffering? This only differs from a great person or from a successful person and a common person. So these are the different shades or different corollaries we can deduce from this Advaitic truth. So coming with this Maya, now the world is appearing, that we know that. So the world is appearing in a particular way. We are experiencing it. We not to bother much about it. Only we should understand. We should come out the confusion. We should come out from the confusion. What is the confusion? Confusion between the body and the self. I am the self, but I am thinking I am the body. I am thinking I am as a mind. Sometimes I'm thinking as a emotions or ego, the pseudo ego, and with respect to external things. So this confusion between the self and the non-self has to be removed. That's why we have to study Advaita Vedanta or study Drik Drishya Viveka or any other scriptures. So this Avarna Shakti has to be destroyed, has to be removed. That is our Advaitic sadhana actually. What happens with, for an example, I think I gave an example of Ramana Maharshi. Ramana Maharshi, when he was sitting in the cave, in the Tiruvannamalai, that hill, because there was no sunlight and there was no proper oxygen, etc., and there was a lot of dampness, and he was sitting for a few years continuously. As a result, his skin was not exposed to sunlight and vitamin D and all. So it started getting rotten. Probably worms and other things also were there. But he was sitting and he was seriously contemplating and he was experiencing the self. His body is undergoing a lot of problems and the worms are there. It has gone decayed, but he's enjoying the self. This is one of the extreme example. We need not to go to that extent, of course. If possible, okay. Otherwise, we not to bother too much. But at least, if you understand that I am the self, not the body and mind, if that Sakshi Bhava, witness to a certain extent, if we can put into practice, then we'll be able to face our struggles, face of our life. We can reduce our stress and strain and sufferings, all these things. So this is what very, very important. Now the author is concluding this topic after discussing this Tattvamasi Vichara also and cause for samsara. Now, by the method of agreement and by the method of difference, he is trying to explain what is self and what is the world in a very subtle way. What is self? What is consciousness? And what is this empirical world, mundane world? What it is actually has been explained once more as a concluding verse in the 21st verse. Let us see. Kva vayu agni jalaha arvishu devatiryang naradishu abhinnaha sachidanandaha vidyate rupanamni. The attributes which are nothing but existence, consciousness and bliss are equally present in the space, air, fire, water and earth, as well as in gods, animals, human beings, etc. Names and forms make one differ from the other. So what is the essence and why we are seeing this duality in this world? This has been explained beautifully here. Now, he is telling that there are 5 components, Panchabhutas. The whole world is made up of these Panchabhutas: space, water, earth, air, and fire, the Panchabhutas. In this Panchabhutas, what is the commonality? Commonality, if you ask, the author is telling that in the Panchabhutas, the commonality is nothing but the Sachidananda. Sachitananda is common among all these 3 things. Okay? Then what about the different beings? There are Devata, celestial beings, Yakshas, Kinnara, Gandharvas, human beings, demons, Rakshasas, animals, different types of birds, mammals, reptiles. There are different types of beings. Then what is the common among all these things, if you ask? The author is trying to tell that, the author is telling that the Sachidananda, the self or the consciousness is the commonality in all these things. Okay, if there is a commonality in all these things, then why they are appearing different? The question comes. The author is explaining that the difference for all this, the reason for the difference is what Nama and Rupa. Just for an example, recently I had been to Atlantic Ocean. In Atlantic Ocean, when we were on the bank of the Atlantic Ocean, it was ice cold water and we were enjoying. There, small waves, medium waves, bigger waves, and were coming. But all the 3, if you say small waves, big wave or middle wave, all are nothing but are waves only. But then why are we differentiating it? That is because of the form, because of the size of the wave. Some are particular in size, they are all categorized as small waves. Some are categorized in the particular size, they are called middle waves. And some are categorized in the particular size, they are considered as bigger waves or biggest waves. But then what is the content in all these three things? The content is only one, that is the water. Though the water is one, the water is appearing as wave. The water has taken a particular form, that's why we have given a particular name called wave. And among that one form, there are different sizes, so we have given different names: smaller wave, big wave, middle-sized wave, or whatever. So similarly, there are so many types of objects, so many types of beings. What is the difference? It is only the name and form, but the substratum, the commonality is only one thing. That is what? The Satchidananda. And for an example, Irish people are there, Europeans are there, Britishers are there, and Poland people are there, then Polish people, then Holland people are there, Netherlands people, then Germany, Switzerland, Italy, France. What is the commonality in all these things? All of them are Europeans. Then Europeans, Africans are there, South Africans are there, Egyptians are there. What is the commonality? One is Europeans, the other is Africans. Then you bring Japanese, Indians, Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, all of them, Europeans, Africans, Asians. Still, is there any commonality among all them? Yes, there is human beings. Human beings, Asians, Africans, Europeans. Then among them, there can be subcategories. Probably, even for example, in India, so again, it can be subclassified into states, subclassified into districts, subclassified into taluks, subclassified into villages or towns. So the commonality is what? Human being. But based on the geography and based on the skin color or based on the profession, it can be go on differentiating. So similarly, we are seeing this dual universe. So many things, so many beings, so many types of beings, so many types of animals, all these things are, we are saying that is only the name and form, that's all. But the common thing is Satchidananda. Now, if you see, in the Nyaya and Vaisheshika philosophy, there is multiplicity of souls they accept. And there are multiplicity of eternal things also they accept. And when it comes to Sankhya and yoga, that is Patanjala yoga, they accept only two permanent things, or two, eternal things. One is Purusha and the Prakriti. And in the Purusha, the souls, there are again multiplicity of souls they accept. Then when it comes to Advaita Vedanta, there is only one eternal thing, that is Satchidananda. So earlier, multiple entities, multiple permanent entities, multiple eternities, then only dual eternities, two eternities. And when it comes to Advaita Vedanta, there is only one eternality, only one eternal thing can be there. That is what? The self, which is nothing but Sat Chit Ananda, that we have to understand. Now, if you remove this Satchidananda, if possible, if you can remove that, then whole things ceases to exist. Just like in that waves, different types of waves, the moment I remove the water, then the wave ceases to exist. So hold on to this Satchidananda and this name and forms, the whole world, the empirical world, what we are seeing, it is only name and form. So the real existence has got Satchidananda, the name and form, the Nama and Rupa, it has got only borrowed existence. So hold on to reality and leave the appearance. Understand that it is an appearance. Just for an example, dream analysis. In the dream, you had this wonderful experience. Once you wake up, then you understand it is a dream, it was an appearance, it doesn't have any reality. Satyatva, we are giving Satyatva Buddhi to the world. And the Advaita Vedantin is asking, the saint or the philosopher is asking, you shift your Satyatva Buddhi from the world to the Atman or to the Brahman. That is what the Upanishad says, Vacharammano vikaro namadeyam vrittikaseva satyam. The clay alone is real. but the clay has been given in different forms. So different names are there. And that Nama and Rupa, they are just transactional reality, but their reality is the only clay. This is what Upanishad says, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. So that is what as told very clearly in this. So we are mixing, we are getting confused, we are mixed the appearance and the reality, the self and the not self. So we have to differentiate it. First and foremost, we have to differentiate. Okay, this is self and this is not self, or this is name and form. Hold on to the self and leave that. Don't give importance, or it is accept there's only transactional reality. Then slowly, when you go further, when you get evolved more, then the author will tell the consciousness and consciousness alone exist. Other is an only appearance. Why do you give value? Now, this truth, when it gets very well established in you, what happens? Probably I'll tell you just anecdote, interesting story of a monk. Then you'll be able to understand one who puts this great truth in a life as a practice, what will happen? Swami Chidbhavananda ji, he was in Tamil Nadu. He has built quite a number of ashramas in Tamil Nadu. He was the disciple of Swami Shivananji Maharaj, who was the monastic apostle of Sri Ramakrishna and the second president of Ramakrishna Math and Mission, Swami Shivanji. He is disciple of Swami Chidbhavananda. Swami Chidbhavananda, he was in Tamil Nadu. He traveled all around in the Tamil Nadu and he built few ashramas. And whatever in Ramakrishna ashramas today we see spiritual retreat, and especially in Tamil Nadu and some other places, it's called Antar Yogam. That is the brainchild of this Swami Chidbhavananda. And also he has penned a beautiful book on Bhagavad Gita. Every very lucid translation and explanation is given, and every shloka ends with the teaching of Sri Ramakrishna. So Swami Chidbhavananda has built an ashrama with a lot of difficulties, challenges he had to face initially. He faced and he has built an ashrama. Now ashrama is well established. And he has got some disciples also, some brahmacharis and some monks are there. Now they are looking after the ashram. By the time he was quite old, probably 60 plus or maybe 70s. And he has much withdrawn now. So he has allowed his, disciples to look after the ashrama. So manager and kitchen in charge, all these young monks and brahmacharis are looking after. He's spending more time in solitude, in meditation or in counseling and guiding the people and studies and all. Once there was a heavy rain in Tamil Nadu. There was so much heavy rain, so everywhere there were floods. And the rain water was everywhere, it was getting accumulated to 3, 4, 5 feet. So even in this Chidbhavananda Maharaj ashrama also, there was a heavy rain, water started getting into the ashram. As a result, wooden furniture started getting floated. So that much water you can imagine. And in one place, the coconuts were stored, they started getting floating. And so everywhere water has been rushed, everywhere is palmale. So monastics and the workers, and they are trying to save the furnitures and etc. And more or less rain is still continuing. But Swami Chidbhavananda in the first floor, he is not bothered about all this, he is unaware of all these things, just is studying. And he had a very good concentration, it seems. So when he sit for study, what is happening next to him, he used to be unaware. The manager Swamiji sent two brahmacharis and said, look, you go and inform the Chidbhavananda that this is the position of the ashram. They went and they slowly opened the door, and they went inside. Swamiji was studying. Something he was reading, he was studying. So they all felt little fearful to disturb him. They waited for 5-10 minutes. But Swamiji was unaware. Swamiji was, didn't see towards them. Then finally they started making sound. Something like that, they started making sounds. And then slowly Chidbhavananda's concentration got diverted and he saw two brahmacharis are standing. In a serious phase. Imagine this has happened 60, 70, maybe 50, 60 years before. Then senior spins and all, there was a lot of respect and fear also. Then with a serious face, he turned towards them and he asked, what? Brahmacharis, by the time the way he asked seriously, they were a bit, I think, fearful. They said, someone said, heavy rain is coming. Then Chidbhavananda said, what shall I do? Then again, they were still, they were fearful. Then one of the brahmachari, at least he was able to say that, Maharaj, there is a lot of heavy rain and water has get into the ashram. So things are getting floated and there are some problems. So manager Swamiji asked to inform you. They said, and they ran away because afterwards they were not ready to get any scoldings if at all. It was a fear basically. So the two brahmacharis ran away. But Swamiji completed the sentence. Oh, is it so? Okay, I will come. See, immediately, he's the founder of that ashrama. He has spent his sweat to build that ashrama. If any one of us would have been in that place, immediately would have said, do you fools, why didn't you inform? Come, what are you doing? How can we manage ashrama? All these things we do it. We react. There is no mistake in that, of course. So instead of that, he started saying, oh, is it so? Okay, you go, I will come. And probably he was reading something as he was studying, he wanted to complete it. He sent them. After 10 or 15 minutes or 20 minutes, after some time, he came down without botheration. And by the time the rain had subsided, and after he came, everywhere water is there, things are getting floated, the ashramites and workers are trying to catch the things and try to put somewhere so that it will not get floated, all these things. So all this work is going on. And he came down and he never expressed anything, pain or fear or misery or anything. Instead of that, there are the 2-3 children, some workers' children, they were trying to hold the coconuts. You can very well imagine in that water, they are holding the coconuts. It will be fun for them probably. The Swamiji also started playing catch with these boys. And all the monastics and ashrama people, inmates and others, workers, they started witnessing and they were all feeling something unusual and they were all astonished. This is the Swami who spent his sweat, who spent a lot of time, energy, his life to build this ashrama. Now the furnitures and everything is getting washed away and the water has creeped in, all these things, but just as if nothing happened and it doesn't belong to him. I don't belong to them and they don't belong to me, as if, and he's playing the catch with the coconuts in front of with those boys. How is it possible? So this is the story, one sadhu who had told me, who had witnessed this story. So when we think about this strongly, what happens? So here, the witness, he built all these things, but probably he thinks that is an instrument. Guru Maharaj is the owner, is an instrument. That's why he has done his work that for. So there is no attachment to the ashram because I have built this ashram. I have done all these things. So there is no attachment. So he's detached. That's why there is no effect. There is no effect on him and he's able to play the catch. When whatever, probably he might have built 1 or 2 more ashramas after that even. He might have worked more than any one of us. Even the people who live in the world, they have to struggle. He might have struggled more than them, but there is no effect on them, effect on his mind. Why? Because he's holding on to God or he's holding on to self. He's doing his duty, but he knows very well clearly this is not, what is true and what is an appearance. So what is true, what is an appearance? By this time, probably by hearing Tattvabodha or Apunokshanubhuti or Drik Drishya Viveka, all of us, we know this. If we can put into practice, then what happens? The world will never change. We are always busy in changing the world. We are always busy in changing the people. No, stop it. We will get change. We will start experiencing all these things similar way, but will not be getting affected. I always say, by studying Advaita Vedanta, if you get established in Advaita Vedanta, what happens? You will be traveling from what to so what. What? So what? So this is what happens in our life. When we hear all these things, sometimes we feel it is very intellectual gymnastics or very high philosophy and very technical points, all these things. But whatever, to larger extent, if you can understand, if you can put into practice, if we can exercise these Advaitic thoughts into our life, then what happens? We will be able to lead the happiest life. And we will not be fear for anything. Whatever it may come, whatever it may go, whatever we are supposed to do, we'll be doing it. We'll be discharging our duties. We'll be doing discharging our responsibilities, but we don't get affected. Adi Shankaracharya, greatest karma yogi, he traveled all over India for 3 times just to establish the dharma. And he is the greatest Advaitin, who can be one of the greatest Advaitin, who told Brahma Satya, Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahma Ivan Apara. The Brahman alone is real and the world is an appearance, and there is no essential difference between the individual self and the Supreme Self. Same thing like Swami Vivekananda, greatest Advaitin in the recent times, who experienced Nirvikalpa Samadhi and whose mind always used to rush towards that in a moment. And he is the person who traveled all over the India by walk, and he went to the West also to preach Vedanta. Greatest Karma Yogis. By study Advaita Vedanta, we will become pessimistic? No. We will be the optimistic people, no doubt. And we can do more work. We can achieve many more things, but the inner conviction will be very strong. Swami Vivekananda, he did all these things. He established Ramakrishna Mission and he made Swami Brahmanji as the president and he withdrew. After doing so much work, so much responsibility, so much of struggling and so much facing criticisms, all these things he did. And finally, once everything is done, obviously anyone will expect that they will lead the institution, they will run the institution, they will head the institution, and they will enjoy the fruits. But in this people's case, it was never. Why? The Sakshi Bhava was very prevalent. I am Drik, never the Drishya. I am the self, never this body and mind, nor this world and its objects. This was very clear for them. Not only intellectual understanding, it was a matter of experience for all of them. The moment when I start understanding, I am the Drik, not the Drishya, even intellectually, there will be a lot of conviction for you. You'll be able to hold on to the truth and you will not be getting disturbed so easily from the worldly afflictions or worldly changes or the worldly dualities. Because no expectations will be reduced, suffering will be reduced. You will know what is right and what is not right. I mean, what is true and what is an appearance. Just like in the dream, I was a millionaire, but once I wake up, I lost all the whole €1 million, but I don't cry. Because it was not true. It was an appearance. The law, even the so-called waking state is an appearance. It is a dream. Again and again, Upanishads are saying we have to hold on to it. We have to put into practice or experience it. Now, this is what the Vedanta is saying. Now we have intellectually, to larger extent, to some extent, we have understood. So many times people say, Swamiji, whenever you say we all feel it is true, it is right, but after the class, then once we get into the world or our mundane work, this flies away or this goes back or whatever. So that means it has not been internalized. The thoughts has not been put into practice. So these views or wisdom has not been internalized. It has not been made the part and parcel of life. So how to do this? The question may come. For that, very interestingly, the author next around 10 slokas, he introduces Vedantic type of meditation. There are so many types of meditation, with form, without form, with forms. With forms also there are different types. Without form there are different types of meditations and different types of upasanas which are discussed in Upanishads. So interestingly, Vedantic contemplation, Vedantic meditation techniques has been taught 6 to 7 types of meditation techniques. The author discusses. We shall try to see now. Upeksha nama rupe dve Satchidananda tatparaha Samadhim sarvada kuryat hrudayo va atava bahihi. Having becoming indifferent to name and form, being devoted to Satchidananda, the self, one should always practice concentration either within the heart, inside the heart, or outside. That is outside in the empirical world. So now the author concluded the topic. What is the cause of samsara? That is aviveka. What is the aviveka? Indiscrimination, ignorance between the satya and the mithya, reality and appearance, between self and the what is the appearance? Appearance is what? Nama and rupa, name and form. So by studying Advaita Vedanta or Drik Drishya Viveka, then we have understood the self alone is reality, and this name and form, so-called world, is nothing but the name and form. It has got borrowed existence, it has got dependent existence, and it has got only the appearance. This is what. Then separate it. Discriminate between the real and ephemeral. That is what? Satyamitya Viveka. We have got Satyamitya Aviveka. That's why we are suffering by the knowledge. Then Aviveka, when it gets transformed into Viveka between Satya and Mithya, then we know intellectually what it is. Then it has to be internalized. Only one word of caution I would like to tell. Whenever we say, okay, Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya, Brahman is real, the world is an appearance. When we say immediately, okay, for an example, there is a mobile in front of me. This mobile I'm seeing, and every one of us, we have got an experience of mobile. So when the world is saying that, or the Advaita Vedanta is saying that it is an appearance, that means it is an only appearance. Whatever my experience as a mobile, is it not true? If this question is asked, then the Advaita Vedanta says, at that given point of time, your experience of mobile is true, just like the experience of snake was true on the rope. Only when it was negated, that is a rope, not the snake, only then the experience of the snake is also negated. So similarly, when the experience of self happens, then this really the experience of the reality of the world also will be negated. Till then, it is not possible. So the experience brings the real change actually. This is what we have to understand. First point. Second thing is, when we say it is an appearance, also it is a very deep and very sublime philosophy. What do we mean by appearance actually? Now, probably I often give this example. Now you went to, because Akshaya Tritiya, for some reason, you went to a jewelry shop and you purchased golden bangles, you purchased golden necklace, and you purchased golden earrings, golden bracelet, golden nose ring. 5 items you bought it. And you are showing for your friends, 4 or 5 friends had come to house, and you were showing. Everyone said, oh, it's so nice, what is the cost? And everyone is enjoying. One person is observing and is also enjoying, no doubt, but is observing. And he was noted as a philosopher. Then everyone asks, oh, philosopher, how do you think? Are you also able to appreciate it, or you have got a different view? Then if he's Advaita Vedanta, he says, yeah, there are 5 items, but there is only 1 item. What? How can it be? Yeah, because golden ring, golden nose ring, golden earring, golden bracelet, golden necklace, golden bangles, all 5 items, no doubt, but the commonality, the common thing is what? Gold. The gold, for the help of gold, these 5 things are prepared. So there are 5 things, but there is only 1 thing. The moment you remove the gold, then all the 5 things is has to exist. So when we say the self alone is real and the world is an appearance, means what? This is what you have to understand. This is one way of understanding. So the moment when you remove the self, if at all, then this world ceases to exist. Just like when you remove the gold, all the golden bangles, golden necklace, golden earrings, golden nose ring, they ceases to exist. So similar way, even when you withdraw the self, this world ceases to exist, because the self is the substratum. Now, so gold, when you remove these 5 things ceases to exist, we will understand, because both are objects. When the self withdraws, the world ceases to exist. When you say immediately, then the problem comes. So if the self is also an object, like an energy, or some like a light, or something, it is like an object which is microscopic, which we cannot see through our naked eyes. No. Here the difference is the self is the subject, it is never the object. Then why the self is appearing as an object, if you ask, the Advaitins say, we cannot explain it. It is anirvachaniya, they say. That is why they bring the concept of Maya, they bring the theory of Maya theory. Because of the Maya, the self is appearing as this an object or the empirical world, but in reality, we do not know why it is, how it is. It is inexplainable. So this is what we have to understand. Now, after understanding this truth, we have to internalize it. How to internalize it? The author is telling that now by this time, Shravana Manana you have done. Still, if you have not experienced that I am the self, I am the Sakshi, I'm the seer number 3, not the seer number 2 and the 1, that is mind and sense organs, then better you should go for the nididhyasana. Nididhyasana means it is Vedantic contemplation, internalizing the idea. For example, generally in the devotional practices, what we do, meditation, we take a form of a particular god or goddesses like Durga, Shiva, Rama, Kali, or Ramakrishna, and we keep on meditating on their form. Initially, it will be just a form. Just like we are seeing any photo or a portrait or any, idol. So probably it starts with that. We superimpose it as a god and we superimpose it as a real. But when we keep on meditating, slowly, when our mind gets purer, when our mind gets concentrated, then we start feeling and experiencing that it is not the idol, it is not the portrait, it is living God. The more we progress, the more once we get our spiritual advancement, purification of the mind, concentration gets well established, then what happens? Then we'll be able to experience the existence of the God. Isn't it? So that understanding got concretized, experienced, internalized. So when our understanding has to be internalized, then what we have to do? According to the Advaita Vedantic scriptures, we have to do nididhyasana. So internalizing the Advaitic truth, internalizing the Advaita Vedanta is nothing but the, nididhyasana. When we understand, when we hear and when we understand these concepts, our rational mind was active. It became dominant. Then when we start feeling and when we start experiencing, or when we try to experience, then what happens? Our emotional faculty of the mind and our heart, spiritual heart, I mean to say, these two things gets activated. So, samadhi abhyasa rupa nididhyasana, that is what the technical definition of the nididhyasana here in this particular text. Samadhi rupa nididhyasana. It is a type of nididhyasana or internalization of our understanding. Now, so there are samadhi. Here the word is used as a samadhi. Samadhi means here it is a meditation. Vedantic meditation, Vedantic contemplation. So you have to understand carefully these words, because in some other Vedantic text, this samadhi is used in a different way. And when it comes to Patanjali Yoga, it is used in a different way, different shade of meaning has got. So you have to be very careful. It is a technical understanding we have to do. Here samadhi means it is meditation. It is a contemplation. So in the samadhi, and which is a very unique and which it is only in Drik Drishya Viveka we see this. Though these ideas can be seen in Bhagavad Gita, in Upanishads, but explicitly this meditation techniques is very specific and very unique to the Drik Drishya Viveka work. Samadhi means what? Contemplation or meditation, Vedantic meditation. Among them, the author is trying to bring two types of meditation. One is internal, antara, internal, bahya, external. So two types of meditation. Then among in internal, antara, there are two types of meditation. Again, the internal meditation has been classified into two types of meditation. One is savikalpa, the other is nirvikalpa. Savikalpa means it has got something, content is got, it has got something, some thought or an object or something, it has got vikalpa, modification. It has got some modification, maybe thought, maybe an object or whatever. Basically, it has got something. Nirvikalpa, devoid of all the modifications, means there is no object there at all. So in the savikalpa, again, there is a subclassified. Then one is object, the other is word. Word means word also shabda, then the object. Object is vastu. So samadhi has been classified into antara, internal, external, bahya. And in the antara, internal, it has been subclassified into two. One is savikalpa and nirvikalpa. Nirvikalpa, there is no subclassification. In the savikalpa, again, there is a classification, subclassification. One is object, vastu, vastunishta, the other is Shabdanishta, that is word association, word associated. So similarly, in the Bahya, in the external, it has been subclassified into Savikalpa and Nirvikalpa. Nirvikalpa, no more classification. Savikalpa has been further classified into object associated, that is Vastu Upadesha, Vastu Nirdeshya, then word associated, Shabda Nirdeshya. So finally, it is like 6 to 8 type of meditation has been taught in the next 10 slokas. So it comes like this 6 type of meditation. One is Antardrushya Anuviddha Savikalpa Samadhi. Don't worry, all these things I will explain. So there are big all Sanskrit phrases I'm using, so don't get confused. Antardrushya Anuviddha Savikalpa Samadhi. First one, internal object associated Savikalpa Samadhi, that means. Then Antarbahya Anuviddha Savikalpa Samadhi. Then Antarnirvikalpa Samadhi. So these are the 3 types based with Antara, that's internal. Then 3 types is Antarnirvikalpa Samadhi, Bahya Drushya, Anuviddha Nirvikalpa Samadhi, Bahya Shabda Anuviddha Savikalpa Samadhi, Bahya Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So basically 6 type of meditation techniques will be taught by the author, which is very interesting. So basically meditation, 2, one is internal, external. Internal, Savikalpa, Nirvikalpa. Savikalpa is, one is object associated, the other is thought associated, or the word associated. This is what the major classifications. These techniques we shall try to understand, and probably we can practice also in the forthcoming days. So next week I'll be traveling to Germany, and then for a talk retreat, for a function. Then afterwards I'll be traveling to Switzerland for retreats to give talks and all. So almost more than 15 days I will not be there. So then after coming back, we can have the class and we can probably practice Vedantic meditation if you keep yourself ready for that. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Yeah, any doubts?
No, no doubts, Swamiji, but I think Vedantic meditation would be nice if you can